Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of The Chilling Archives of Horror Comics. This was a series of books from IDW, all by Craig Yo, absolutely brilliant, Yo books. Now this is volume 4 in that series, and it's Jack Cole's Deadly Horror. I love Jack Cole's work, Plastic Man, etc. Some lots and lots of really classic great stories all the way through this. And it's actually just not sort of cleaned up or anything, not restored. It's just the raw, brilliant comics. Nice quality ones as well. So they're not... Now the stories are pretty horrific all the way through. So obviously tame in terms of what... and you can predict quite often the ending of them. But still, they've got raw energy that perhaps you would not find in comics nowadays. Not so many comics anyway. So let's just go through it. This is a nice quality book. You've got a lovely... there, look at that gruesomeness. Of course, the sort of thing that would have made certain that 1953, and they're all like 1950s, 1953, 52, that sort of period. Got all the details there. Jack and Craig Yo, etc. IDW Publishing. And the book came out in 2017. Now, Volume 1, Volume 2 and Volume 3 had already come out at this point. That was Frankenstein, Bob Powell's Terror, and Book 3 was Zombies, as it says there. And also it's got information about other ones as well. So this is Web of Fear and Web of Evil, etc. The book, obviously the comics. This recommended reading. Focus on Jack Cole and Plastic Man. Classic pin-up art of Jack Cole. Cole's Comics, and that's a blog, as well as Alter Ego issue 34. Some are easy enough to find. The 34 Alter Ego one probably should be easy to find. Also, you can always find it in Kindle, of course, as well. And you've got a lovely little introduction with lots of examples of work by Jack Cole. So you've got here Playboy's hard worker in cartoons, that is, and it Freelance magazine. You've got a lovely illustrations there, and you've obviously got a lot of detail about Web of Evil and other ones, and of course Plastic Man as well. You've got Plastic Man, look at that, stretching away, pretty gruesome there, and old woozy looking, saying please don't, please witch don't, and I mean, this is the sort of gruesomeness you probably wouldn't find in comics nowadays. I mean, really, I mean, you're not sort of being poor old Plastic Man being bubbled up, and that was issue 33. I'm not certain what year, 1952, around the same period as the comics in this. And you've got some covers as well. You've got this one, Web of Evil, Goddess of Murder. Nothing less than the pretty gruesome Goddess of the Beast from Beyond, etc., etc. The Killer from Saturn. So you know what sort of magazines you get in here. Monster of the Mist, etc. Web of Evil. And these obviously are Jack Cole. Now, sometimes, of course, they're not actually, you've got no actual listing to say it's Jack Cole, but of course they've decided that's Jack Cole's work, and you've got another one here, you've got issue 7, and then you go into the actual, and they've all got, there you can see obviously the date there, and also, of course, the issue, Web of Evil. Great stories. This one, Custodian of the Dead. You know he's got trouble, and he's going off, and he's curses, they've been here already, and he's sort of obviously stealing various things from graves. He's going around sort of digging up various things. He takes teeth, really. Obviously some other things there. At least $1,000. Well, and of course, you know he's going to meet his comeuppance. There's no way that, of course, he goes and there's all the rain. I love the rain as well, all the way through this. This is just brilliantly, and it's, like I say, very nice quality, just really cleaned up. But at the same time, not cleaned up so far that it's been made like a sterile sort of saturated colour and things that sometimes you can find in the modern comics, which is, of course, some people like. I love that as well. No problem with it. But I think in some ways, these probably wouldn't work so well. It's nice to see them in the original form. Obviously, these are slightly bigger than the original form. They're not comic sized. It's slightly bigger than comic size. Someone might turn around and say that's not the case. You can see my hand there. So you can see the size of the book. You can make a judgment whether it's that size. However, Hangman's Horror. Pretty gruesome sort of thing. No wonder lots of parents must have, when they got these things, if they have looked at it and probably thought, my kid's reading this. But still, they never did any properly. But these stories are great. Look at it. Oh, yeah. Gruesome stuff, but they always generally got their comeuppance at the end. It was always sort of like, nothing will help you, blah, blah, blah. And it's sort of, Killer from Saturn. That sort of thing. Pretty the sort of monster that would have been perfect out of something like Jack Kirby's Marvel monster. I wonder why he didn't do those sort of things. However, you got that story, and this one as well. Goddess of Murder. Pretty gruesome Goddess of Murder, no less, as well. I mean, that's a pretty gruesome... Yeah, not good. But you knew what you're going to get when you get comics like Web of Evil. And I don't assume that was Web of Evil. Let's have a just look. Yeah, Web of Evil issue 3, March 1953. I say again, you can see the reason why there was a lot of outrage sometimes with these. They really did stretch it, maybe even more so than the EC comics. EC comics, though they were pretty gruesome in places, there was always a certain slight bit of restraint. But sometimes these, with Jack Cole, there was no restraint at all. And same with Plastic Man. I love Plastic Man. The way he sort of distorted figures, they were very inventive magazines. Something that you read. And this one here, you've obviously got some electrocution there and thing. And obviously there's a twist in the tale. Of course, there's always a twist at the end, normally last panel. Just brilliant story though. And this one, Orgy of Death. I love those sort of titles. Good old Orgy of Death. You can't beat that. And of course, always way, characters, I think this one is one where they want to steal something or something. They did that a number of stories. There's always a character that wants to steal something. Everyone says, the priest says, don't steal that. And of course, the person sneaks in, steals it. You know what's going to happen. They normally meet a very, very gruesome end. Good, bad idea. Not always, but mostly. And there's quite a few of those sort of stories. And other stories as well, the spectres of death and things. Just brilliant. All the characters are always like sweating profusely as well. You know they've got problems at that point. Strangling hands. Lots of strangling hands. If you don't like strangling hands, do not get this book. There's a lot of strangling hands here. Not great. This one obviously showing previous period. Obviously back historical time, I'm not certain when. 1853. But of course goes forward in time to the modern age. 1950s in this case. And more strangling hands in the next panel. Another strangling hands. They do love that. Valley of Horror. So there's a lot of stories as well in this book. So you know, you're not just getting one or two stories, you're getting a lot of stories. However, there was no original art pages. One of the Bob Powell, the Terror one, that's great because they've got original pages as well. This one they don't, which is a pity. I would have loved to have seen some original pages. Lots and lots of rain. If you want rain in the story, you get rain in this a lot. And also people throwing themselves off bridges, more rain. A bit like Will Eisner, all Spirit. I love Spirit for all that rain. And you've got, say, lots of rain pouring off characters. Just brilliant. And of course, you've got all the different stories and the brains out. Whole heaps of things and beasts and things all looking very... And there's always quite intense faces as well. Real sort of... There's nothing ever really sort of subtle in this. You know, subtle characters. So you've got that story, brilliant stories, and that's all the way through. Now, 160 pages. 160 pages of superb artwork from... Now, of course, you probably can find them... But these, I think, I think PS Art Books does a lovely series, and of course there's other series as well. You can find sort of similar. But I think this book is really a real nice quality version. And if you really want to find a good copy of it, I think this is superb. So let's just quickly go to the end. Look at that, just gruesome again, very gruesome. You know what you're getting with that sort of thing. However, Yo Books, I think Yo Books are great. Brings out so many excellent books that I think just not all horror, some obviously other subjects, but you've got here the haunted horror. You've got loads of these ones. They see all the new fellow there, just damage the book. So there's nothing like damaging a book, is there, when you're doing book review? Art of Ditko, they're great as well. I love those ones. Those Ditko books are brilliant. Zombies, Terror there as well. And you can get a t-shirt there. Got a lovely Zazzle t-shirt, zazzle.com. And some more. Oh, that one looks nice. The Strange World of Your Dreams. Obviously, Jack Kirby, Salvatore Dali. Frank Frazetta, obviously, funny stuff. And other ones there. You've never seen that one before, Your Dreams. That one's a good one. The cartoonist one, Popeye. Obviously, got some Popeye. 3D one as well. And other examples there. So you've got Craig Yo. Just absolutely superb book. Big picture there on the back. Jack Cole. What an excellent book. I love these. Brilliant archives. Should be more books about Jack Cole as well. Of course, there's the Plastic Man one that's really good, all about Jack Cole. But I would love to see a real proper, massive, chunky Jack Cole book. That would be superb with lots more examples. But certainly, if you want some Jack Cole, I think this is a real great one to check out. And I found this quite cheap. So it still should be relatively easy to find. I don't think it's in print, but it's not, as far as I'm aware, crazy prices. So worth checking out this one. Some of the other volumes are quite expensive. So I would say totally recommended, brilliant book. Jack Cole's Deadly Horror.